So they were supposed to say. They give them a big hand. Thank you, guys. We're very, very thankful for the safe return of those that went to Switzerland. I heard it was, well, from the pictures I saw that it was amazing. I think we're going to see a lot more details. So we're thankful for their safe return, and we're going to introduce, I think it's Carol. Well, is that all you guys? The 4, 5. They don't know who's presenting. They don't know who's presenting. But there's going to be a presentation. So let's give them a big hand to those that went to Switzerland. Big hand. That's like... Nice.
I'm so sure you can put it here. There's a table. Yeah. Yeah. Can you have the other one just so I have a free hand? Thanks. Hi, good morning, everybody. For whatever strange reason, I'm still up here, but I'll try and keep this short. So we gave you a nice general summary after the liturgy of what we highlighted in the trip, a couple of the lessons that we learned. Now we want to give you a bit more of an in-depth walkthrough of what our days looked like and everything that we saw throughout the trip. If you have questions, please don't ask. No, I'm just kidding. Ask Carol. Day one?
Okay, hi guys. I'm obviously one of the people that went on the trip. The first day. Oh, my name is Monica.
Her name is Feifei.
It's not. Anyways, moving on. The first day we actually came from the Geneva airport, and then we took a small tour, a really last-minute tour, but a tour around Geneva. We got to see some of the old historic buildings. We got to see the, I think, United Nations building. We got to see the three-legged chair. All on the bus, thank God, because we were all really tired from the flight. Later on during the day, we actually ended up going to St. Maurice, which is a city in Switzerland. And the church there is absolutely beautiful. We got a chance to have a guided tour around the church. Oh, okay. So I'm looking at the pictures, and this is one of the places that we stopped in for Geneva. We literally stopped there for 20 minutes. We got a chance to look at the flower clock, and we got a chance to just take pictures by the harbor. This is St. Maurice's monastery. I think these are some of the tombs in the area. They're actually doing archaeological, I think it's an archaeological site, so there's people working there. I think we also saw the catacombs, yeah. I don't remember too much about it, but I remember... I don't remember too much about it, yeah. Okay, so it's actually where St. Maurice is buried. We actually ended up there with Abuna Bishoy, and we sang, what did we sing? I don't remember. We sang a hymn. Anyways, on to day 2.
Okay, guys, day 2. I'm doing day 4 and 5, but day 2, chocolate factory. Who here loves chocolate? Woo! Okay, so apparently, according to Stephanie, it's probably one of the oldest chocolate factories somewhere in Switzerland. So in the morning, we went to the chocolate factory. It was really cute outside because they had like a lot of swings and coffee. That's what I cared about. But the tour of the chocolate was unlike any other chocolate factory. Going in, it's very interactive. Like they're not just sitting you down to like watch the history, but it was like you're going through like rooms, and some rooms are you feel like you're in a boat, and it was really cool. And then we got to taste a lot of chocolate. It was a lot of chocolate. We could not take it in. And then the most important part, we after that went to Bern. Do you guys know what's the capital city of Switzerland? Anyone know? Geneva, Zurich? Geneva? Say Geneva? That's what I thought too. Apparently it's Bern. Bern is the capital of Switzerland. And it was so beautiful. Most of the places we went to, we did not expect what we were going to see, right? But we arrived there, and this is the river R. It's Aare. I think that's how these pronounce it. And we went for a walking tour around, and there were different churches. And the scenery there was beautiful. More scenery. The cool thing about the river, they go swimming in the river there. It's really refreshing. So fun fact, they have some waterproof bag. It's called air bag. Well, they call it R bag, whatever, because it's air bag. You get it? Like the name of the river. And some people actually commute to work using the river. So it's faster than just walking because it's just refreshing, and why not? What else do we have there? That's day 3.
Hello, yeah, I think I'm day 3. Okay, so fun fact, we learned that in Switzerland, so a lot of the chocolate that you love is actually named after people. So Lindt is a person, right? Toblerone is a person. Yeah, so it was really, really cool. Like in the chocolate factory, they have pictures of them. I'm a chocoholic, so that was one of my favorite days. But our tour guide in Zurich, I think, told us that an average Swiss person consumes 10 kilograms of chocolate a year. But you would never know it to look at them, okay, because they all look very, very healthy, but it's also because it's a very active kind of culture. So not many people drive cars. There's bikes everywhere, and there's kind of like bike racks, or, you know, like when you can share a bike. So you just pick up a bike and go to your next destination and drop it off, like that kind of idea, or some people have their own bikes. And so that was a really interesting fact, I guess. So on August 27th, our day 3, we went to visit the bishop, the chair of the bishop, in a cathedral. So there you see it, right? And I'm pretty sure this is named after Saint Verena. And I think what was really interesting for us, so we kind of went on a tour of it. It was very beautiful, beautiful gardener. I am convinced Saint Verena had a green thumb after all this. I think what was really interesting for us is that we had one of the women who worked there share with us that the Catholic Church is kind of on a decline, and they're really trying to think about how can they keep people in their churches. So we've heard the same thing in many churches, like in North America as well. So so that was really interesting to hear what they're trying to do to really get young people into the church. And they were really kind of surprised when they saw that our whole pilgrimage was young people, and I think it was really an encouragement for them. So I think, yeah, and they hire a number of pastoral workers, lay people, 40% of whom are women, to kind of go and really think about how to make Jesus relevant to this world. And then this was the cathedral that we went to afterwards. Yep, just more pictures of the cathedral. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything about the cathedral. You can see at the top of the cathedral, you can't really see it, but there's kind of statues of St. Verena and St. Maurice, I believe. But this was one of my favorite things. It was the Gorge of St. Verena. So when St. Verena came to Switzerland, and by the way, we found out a very interesting tidbit. Did you know St. Verena was engaged? She was engaged to St. Victor. So she found out that St. Victor had passed away, and everybody else, really, all 6,600 had passed away. And she could have gone back to Egypt, a place of comfort, especially after such a tragic heartbreak, but instead she chose to stay in Switzerland. So that really, really made an impact on me, like her heart for mission and her heart to stay here. So she chose to stay. And when she first got there, after she kind of figured out everything was going on and that her whole life was really changing, she hid in a cave, or maybe not hid, but was a hermit, had seclusion, time for prayer, time with God. And so the Gorge of St. Verena is the cave kind of that she hid in, the mountains. So I thought it was really cool in the sermon today how Atif was talking about escape to the mountain, because that's literally what St. Verena did do. So here you see, this is the church. There's 2 churches there. There's a church named after St. Verena, and there's a St. Martin. And there's also a hermit who lives there. His name is Michael, and he takes care of the grounds. And he usually never comes out, but we actually got to spend a little bit of time with him, which was really, really cool. So these are all pictures of the church that's kind of in the mountains. And as you're walking, so it's kind of like a long path to get there. What's really, really cool is you see like enclaves in the mountain, and people just come and they leave a candle. They light a candle, they say a prayer, and they just keep walking. So it's actually really, really beautiful. If anybody else wants to add anything, please feel free. Day 4? Yeah.
Day 4. Okay, so the morning of day 4, we actually went to the open air museum. It's called Ballenberg Open Air Museum. Going there, a lot of us didn't really have an idea what to expect. But if anyone been to the Black Pioneer Village close to York University, they kind of give you an idea of how, like the countryside, how they were farming and cooking and doing all that. But except that was a lot better experience because you have a lot of beautiful scenery. So we'll go through some of the pictures. Yeah, we got horses. I think her name is Noelle. Yeah, and then one of the best highlights of the trip, honestly, we went down to a city called Brines. And from there, we took a boat tour. So just to explain, we took a boat from Brines to Interlaken, okay? And I think it was an hour. And I don't think words can describe this. We were just in like, what? This is not real. Like, I know the pictures, I showed this to my family, they're like, this kind of looks fake, but it's not fake, honestly. This is not filtered. Just look at the pictures. I'll stay silent at this point. Wow. Yeah. It was lovely. Take me back. Yeah, day 4. Okay, going to day 5, second best part of the trip. We went up to a place called Alpenstadt. Stadt means city, so I would say Alp means the Alp city. We went up to Mount Pilatus. That is 6,982 feet or 7,000 feet, 2.12 kilometer above ground, if anyone is curious. And we went on a cogwheel. Cogwheel is kind of a cable car, but it's not a cable car. We went down using a cable car, and apparently it was the world's steepest cable car. Details. But up on the mountain, again, when we arrived there, it was so beautiful. When we first arrived, it was kind of cloudy. By the time we left, you can see the full view. Again, some pictures. Yeah, it was fantastic. We had lunch up there, which is pretty cool. Then we took the cable car down to a city called Lutzer, and I think we have some facts about the bridge. No? Okay. So apparently this bridge, some people had facts here, but this bridge was actually used as a wall to separate cities. I tried to pay attention to history, but yeah, it was a beautiful city. We spent a couple hours there. Very nice.
Okay, so I forgot to mention on the first day, after we took a tour of the church, we actually climbed a mountain. It was the first mountain that we climbed in Switzerland, and it was so tiring. It starts at the first station of the cross, and then as you go up, you'll see like the several stations until you get all the way to the top. So it was really cool, really tiring. We had to take several breaks, like it was so exhausting, but it was amazing. It's so worth it when you get up there. On day 6, we actually went to the cheese factory, which is not my favorite part, but I know a lot of people really like cheese. I don't, personally. But they basically gave us an awesome tour where they showed us how the cheese was made. They showed us the cows that they take the milks from. Like, it's really cool to see. A lot of people got to try cheese. Again, I did not. But it looked really good, and we ended up buying, cheese at the end. I bought for my family. I don't eat it, though. But anyways. Then we ended up going to a Benedictine monastery. It was beautiful. They told us at the beginning that they didn't want to make it a tourist area, so we weren't actually allowed to take pictures inside. But it's beautiful when you go inside. There's actually pictures online if you want to check it out. And the Abba basically gave us a tour of the church, and it's actually one of the prettiest things I've ever seen in my life. And he actually let us go into the confessional where there's a small chapel, and there's actually 2 Coptic icons. I think There's one of St. Mary and another of St. Maurice, I think. I don't remember, yeah. But yeah, which is like, it was so kind of him. We actually stayed to attend Vespers with the monks, and there's a Coptic monk who actually stays with the Benedictine monks there. I think his name is Father Isidore. Unfortunately, I think we met him the next day, yeah, at the church. Anyways, so they got to also sing a hymn to St. Mary, so we attended the Vespers, which was a really cool experience. And then they go into this small chapel inside that also has an awesome statue of St. Mary, and they sing another hymn there. And people come to attend that hymn specifically, and everything is on time. So yeah, it was really cool to experience.
Just one thing, at that monastery, they have a history. There's always a Coptic monk who resides there, and I think all of the other Coptic monks have become bishops. So he just made a joke saying it's a launching pad for Coptic bishops.
Okay, so day 7, we went to a Coptic church actually, and we had liturgy with them there, and it was really cool because they did some parts in German and we did some parts in English, so we kind of like collaborated. It was cool. And the monk who prayed with us was the one monk who was at the one Coptic monk who was at the monastery that Monica just talked about, and so that was cool. His name was Father Isidore. And then we got some like quiet time around the church there, and it was really pretty because it was not like a tourist area or anything, but it was still so pretty because everything is just surrounded with mountains and the most beautiful like nature. And then after we went to Zurich at night, and then we all got to try cheese fondue for dinner, and it was really good. And then we walked around the town a bit, and we sat by the river and watched the sunset, and it was really nice because all the buildings like get lit up at night, and there's like really beautiful churches there too. And then we got to take public transport back to our hotel, and it was really cool because their public transit is a lot better than ours, and it was a cool experience.
Oh, okay. I feel so sad that we're almost at the end of our presentation, because it was really sad when we were at the end of our trip, but I think this was a big highlight for a lot of us. So this is the Church of St. Verena in Bad Zurich. So I'm just going to go back to the story that I shared, like I'm going to continue with St. Verena's life. So in the mountains, St. Verena, like her ministry was to people who were sick, or dying, people who had leprosy, and God did a lot of miracles through her. So there was an official, I can't remember what his position was, who got very jealous of her and put her in jail. And also because a lot of people were coming to Christ because of her ministry, so he put her in jail. So when she was in jail, St. Maurice and some of the other soldiers appeared to her in a dream and gave her strength. And at the same time, this official who put her in jail got really sick, and she prayed for him, and he was healed, and he let her go. So what would you do if you were let go? Why not sail on the river? So St. Verena, the first river that we showed you right at the beginning. So it was really cool because some of us actually did just float on the current. It's a very strong current, and it just carries you. And which was a really cool experience. But then I found out that St. Verena did that too. She hopped on a millstone, and she floated on the river to her next destination. And so I think eventually she got to here, this little town called Bad Zurich, and that's where her church is. It's a Catholic church, and that in the Catholic tradition, they celebrate her feast on September 2nd. So we had like the great honor and privilege of being part of it, and it is a huge deal. So people from all over the town come here. People travel from different cities to come here. The Swiss Guard is there. The Cardinal comes. It's a really big deal, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful Mass. I think it was mainly in German, right? I think it was primarily in German. And this is where St. Verena is buried. So you see a few pictures here. The first one is of her hand, and if you zoom in, like kind of like with the little door that's open right underneath her hand is one of her bones. Okay, so that's a relic right there. And then the next picture there is like of the Mass, or the front of the church, you see as well. And then the final picture there is of her grave. So that's where St. Verena is buried. There are some relics in there, but I think they also store the relics in other areas of the church because St. Verena is becoming very famous. And so this is the church that Father Bishoy and Sandra came to get the relics that we have in our church, right? And I think other churches are doing that around the world as well. So for me, just like being in her grave and like being in her presence was very, very special. And St. Verena carries the water pot. I always thought it was water, but she used to carry oil or wine or water, whatever she needed, because she was a nurse, to bring healing. So what was really sweet is a lot of the community members bring big tubs of olive oil, jars of olive oil, and they put them at her feet. And then after the service is done, the mass is done, the bishop comes and he blesses all of the oil, and then the people can take it home. So I thought that was really special. It was really beautiful. And they have a big, I don't know, a party for her. Afterwards, they had tables, white tablecloths, they have wine, juice, snacks that they're just serving. It was really, really just so joyful to be there with her. Do we have more pictures? Oh, okay. And the only other thing I'm just going to share, what was really cool to me was the Swiss Guard, and seeing they're very decorated, right? And it's quite a procession to see them come. And I was talking to one, his name is David, and I promised him we would pray for him, so please pray for David. They're quite young, and this soldier, for example, his main duty is actually in the Vatican, in Rome, and he guards the Pope. That's his job, just to guard the Pope. And he was released for this weekend because of St. Verena's feast, which just shows you how special she is, right? And then he was going back. So the same afternoon, we said, hey, we can just drive to Germany, so why not? So we drove to Germany, a little town in Germany, very, very pretty, much cheaper than Switzerland. And I think, is that church named after St. Maurice? I can't remember. Oh, sorry. Oh, St. Blasian. Okay, St. Blasian's Church, which is right there. And then that's the interior of the church. And then, yeah, this is just a little glimpse of the town. It was very, very pretty. And I think is that it for everybody? Yeah? Okay. Nobody wants to add anything? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Nobody has any questions? Okay, I do want to share one more thing. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I do want to share one more story and then a closing. So what was really cool for me is so often we just hear about St. Maurice and St. Verena, but there were 6,600 other soldiers, and there were a lot of nurses that came with them. So what was cool for me is that they started to get names, and I really loved learning about the other saints. So the patron saints of Zurich are St. Felix and St. Regula, and they were a brother-sister team. And so they were martyred, okay? But what was really cool is when they were martyred, they actually picked up their heads and they walked and then they died. But I felt like that was so victorious, such a victorious thing kind of in the face of the people who tried to kill them. And so they are the patron saints of Zurich, and in that little parish, St. Verena's Parish, the last one we went to, there's an icon of them. And I also thought it was really cool that in a lot of the Catholic churches we went to, we saw little Coptic icons, because the Coptic church and the Catholic church there have such a good relationship. It's a beautiful kind of witness. So I think when Coptic priests or bishops or the Pope are visiting some of these places, they bring an icon, and they're nice front and center. It's really, really beautiful. So in conclusion, I think what was really amazing for a lot of us is we saw the impact that St. Maurice and St. Verena made all over Switzerland. Everyone knows about them. There's so many churches, as somebody mentioned, and monuments named after them. And I was just thinking, you know what? They were just everyday people who were doing what God called them to do, right? I mean, not every day, because being a soldier and going across is a really big deal, but you know what I mean? They were just following their callings, the next right step that God gave them to do. And it was just really instructive for me to say, God, what's my next thing that you want me to do for your glory, for your kingdom, and through your love, and the impact that maybe that can have. So I think that's it for us. If you have any questions, maybe you can come to talk to us one-on-one. Thank you. So maybe, should we just, are we okay, great, thanks.
Thank you for that, everyone. I think we all learned a lot about the Switzerland trip, and it looked really interesting and entertaining to the rest of us. So next week we're continuing the I Quit series again. I think Sarah is the one leading it. And then we have one more week after that, so then we'll keep you updated with what we'll be doing. Again, as always, if you're not on the mailing list, you can come see myself after we conclude, and I can include you on that. And we'll just stand for prayer.